Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I am recording this on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all it applies to. As you can hear, just a little bit, not even under the weather, just tired. You know, my schedule's been all over the place with waking up at 4 a.m. for ultimate prep and then, having the live letter on some days and staying up late and then having to wait. I've just had all these like weird bounces back and forth between wake up times and stream times. And it's just been a bit exhausting. Not to mention, on the Mama Haps update side, we are working towards trying to come up with a plan for 2023. We don't want to do anything like what we had to do last year, but there are things that are cropping up that have made things a bit more difficult than we may have anticipated. So expect to see a relatively busy YouTube channel whenever I need to do something like that. That tends to be how I compensate, is by doing a lot of sponsor related stuff, YouTube related stuff. So I'm trying to find more things that I'll more consistently post about in 2023. Blue Protocol, they have monthly dev stuff. That's going to be kind of exciting leading into 2023. So expect at least a decent number of posts about that. More of the forum related stuff that we were doing. We did the one kind of test episode for, and just a lot of retrospective stuff. Next year is the 10-year anniversary of Final Fantasy XIV. So of course, we're going to be looking back at old raids, top 5 this, top 5 that, analyzing old raid tiers, old stories that people may have forgotten about that have just kind of shaped the last 10 years of Final Fantasy XIV. So I think it'll be a good year for that. And otherwise, I'm kind of on reset mode. I have a lot of things in my personal life in terms of monetarily to catch up on ever since, I've been helping my mother the last few years. Managed to do some of that this year, but definitely not as much as I wanted to. So expect a busy Haps next year. So if you enjoy the stuff that I'm doing, just be sure to watch the videos. That's all I ever ask. Hit the like button, all that stuff. It helps more than you know. And if you see a sponsored thing that you are interested in, ask me about it. Let me know, and I'll be sure to give you any information I can. So figured I'd give you that kind of year-end update, since the next Mondays with Mr. Happy will be in 2023 by the time you see it. So with that, thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. You guys have been awesome and always something that I look forward to every month, seeing that there's still people that support us over there, because you don't have to. Just enjoy the content on the YouTube channel. That's all I ask of anybody. But heck, I said helk, like I combined the two, like I was trying to censor myself. I appreciate any and all of the support that's come over from the Patreon. And also we had some thanks. In fact, I saw some thanks under the video. I said I would thank those people in the video. Alcandor, I saw that. I see a 9. I think that's the euro, the symbol for the euro. Excuse my dumb American brain. It's either the euro or the British pound, but I'm too dumb to ever remember which is which. So thank you to you for putting a super thanks on the last video. So with that, let's get to the Q&A. I don't think I saw that many, but either way, let's just get to it. All right, the first question I saw, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi, this is my first time asking a question. Welcome. Hey, your first time, and you remembered to say hello. We don't always get that. 14 was the first Final Fantasy game I ever played, and now I'm up to date on story, looking for something else to play. Which of the old Final Fantasy games are your top recommendations? So I have my personal favorite Final Fantasies, but I like to kind of give people a range of options when they want to get into the franchise. If you're okay with the super retro style Final Fantasies, 4, 5, and 6 are all really good representations of the old era that don't have as many sort of shortcomings like the first 3 Final Fantasies do. They are definitely games that you could enjoy the first 3, but they all have like little bits and pieces that may not be as inviting as stuff like 4, 5, and 6, which follow more direct, involved characters, stories, game systems, and some of them more representative of stuff we still see to this day. If you want something a little bit further forward and you want to look at kind of where Final Fantasy blew up, then 7 is always a great jumping on point. Not a personal favorite of mine. I don't really like going back to visit the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy 7, but still definitely a good jumping on point, especially from a history perspective of the franchise. Now, if you're looking for something really modern, I recommend going with 10. 10 is still turn-based. It has some kind of weird gameplay systems, but it has voice acting. The HD remasters are pretty to look at, the cinematics, all that. So that's kind of like a really, really good modern place to start. But realistically, you can start almost anywhere. It's just about not expecting every other Final Fantasy to be exactly like the first one you played, because while there's usually some like overlying things that are similar, they all have their own flavor. And that's why people's favorites and ones that they dislike are so heavily disagreed on amongst the fandom. And it's just a matter of kind of forming your own opinions. But those would be my recommended jumping on points, even if there are other places you could absolutely start. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Hey, Haps. Hello. I hope you had a great Christmas, and in the spirit of, is turkey or ham the better holiday main course? So, I am not a huge fan of turkey, at least as its own independent meal, like as the thing to eat on the day of. I think turkey makes for great other things, like, for example, a stock or a broth made of a turkey's carcass. Fantastic. One of the most flavorful things that you can make with a turkey. The skin in particular, well, you know, I've had great other poultry skin. Turkey skin, if treated correctly, has, again, this sort of quality that the other birds don't have. As for the meat, I really don't care much. Like, it's okay on like a sandwich the next day with some gravy or something, you know, that you made with the carcass, but or the drippings even, but I don't care that much for just the meat itself. Now, the ham, on the other hand, ham for me is an all-purpose thing. You can use the ham bone to make, again, a stock or a broth or, you know, a soup or something. You got this, still you can get this really crispy skin on the outside of it that gives it this really nice texture and crunch. And the meat, in my opinion, is more flavorful. And again, still good with sandwiches the next day. You know, everyone knows, you know, a nice ham sandwich. But for me, it's got to be turkey. It's got to be ham, sorry. Turkey just doesn't have enough qualities. And more likely than not, I'm not excited to eat a turkey like I am a ham. There is a hashtag just above where the Hey Happy is. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Happy, hi. I've been raiding weekly with a static of friends, a few of which mainly play WoW. It's been going well, but one of them playing a physical range job got me thinking about their use of limit break and raiding. Think the physical range limit break is in a good spot, or something be done to make it the more preferred LB in more situations. Let me finish reading, because I have my thoughts on this, but I'll see what the rest of this says. I haven't cleared any savage modes yet except DRS, so Delubrum Reginae, not DSR. Okay, yeah, no, I'm checking in my head because it's DSR, DRS, you know, it's always getting mixed up. But in my experience, the ranged LB isn't widely used as melee is for single target and caster for multi-target. I mentioned that WoW players before, because of their first experience with LB3, is just one of those whoa moments that's really impressive and fun, but as a ranged physical job, I just don't feel they get the chance to use it much. Maybe I'm wrong and there's used much more in Savage Raids. It's really used when the shape of the AoE is the ideal shape for the mechanic that you're doing. Easier to aim, easier to 2-target, 3-target, 4-target. There are places for it, and there have been over time. But the big thing with limit breaks is, in an effort to make them more useful, you put them in a do or die scenario. It's always a matter of, we're either using this because it's the best or it isn't. So you have a choice. You can change the limit break, which doesn't really change the philosophy on its use. It still needs to be the go-to choice in a lot of scenarios, or not. For example, with ranged physical, people are like, oh, they should make it like a raid-wide buff. But if it's a buff, then why would I use this over like a melee LB3? Or why would I use this over a tank? Like, let's say it was 20% damage, 20% damage reduction, 20% increased healing, and a 20% heal on top of it. Let's just say to that. And maybe it also, I don't know, let's leave damage out. Maybe it has a small AoE potency too, whatever. It's going to be less single target damage. If it's more damage for the party to be buffed than it is for the single target melee LB3. Now the single target melee LB3 is the same as the Fizz range LB, and you end up in that problem. If the damage reduction is something that you're going to use it for, then that means that you screwed up and you're using it reactively, because there's no AoE in the game that I think is going to require a limit break to be a 20% damage mitigation. So now you end up in a situation where it needs to be worse than the melee LB3. It needs to be worse than the tank healer. It needs to be worse technically when used in any of those individual situations. And they've got a limit break that's only effectively good in a situation where you need damage mitigation and healing, and the damage buff is more worth than the melee LB3. So it's very few, like even back-to-back raid-wide scenarios, which is very common at the end of Savage fights, you run into an issue where it would have to still be a panic button, because you should be planning your mitigation out that you get a melee LB3. So actually we end up in a case where it's only really good, if I can think of an exact scenario, in P8S would be one of the few places where something like that might be okay, because you are essentially, you need to not die above all else. You already have this 100% damage buff that doesn't work specifically on the LB. So you've got it. It's just damage that would be lost if you use it on the melee LB3. So it's only when you're in like a Phoenix buff scenario where that becomes useful. So now it's even more niche than it was before. It's just as niche, but different, in a different niche. That's the problem with it, and the problem with the limit breaks as a whole, if you're trying to make them all useful all the time or always an option. So I don't think they should focus on that. I think there are other elements of the gameplay that are more important and more impactful to work on. If anything, I would just want the Fizz range LB to go back to being a healer LB. I thought that was when it was the most useful, and if they were to do anything at all to change it, that's all I would do. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps, Merry Christmas, hello, and Merry Christmas to you. Just started Eureka a few weeks ago using your videos. Hope it's been nice and easy, and all I have to say is BA video when. So we decided not to do the BA video. Well, I say we. I mean, I guess I kind of talk to my community about it, and I weigh their opinions on it, and on top of, you know, what I'm thinking. And I came to the conclusion that there wasn't really a good reason to make it. It would have filled out the series, but mentioning that Discords have their own resources and how good those resources are, to me, was more genuine than taking the information I remember, which may not have been as good as what the guides on it now have, or just ripping the information out of those guides that the longtime BA community members have made, and then regurgitating it for my own video. You know, one thing I really don't like to do, and it's a reason why there's not a lot of reaction style content on the channel. There's not a lot. There's some, but there's not a lot. Or why you don't often see me reporting on what other people make YouTube video wise, is because I have sort of a block about taking somebody else's work and then making it profitable for me. Now, that's not obviously an exact science. You know, we cover articles, for example, that are posted by, you know, like IGN or GameSpot or whoever. So we're covering news in that regard. You know, they went out, they asked the questions, and we're kind of using that to spread news. For me, it's a little bit different when somebody creates something that's not news and is instead creative in some aspects, something like a guide or anything in that capacity. So it's a very fine line, and I usually struggle with it over and over, but the BA video doesn't exist because I have that line where I don't just want to take the community's hard work on the BA stuff that's already there, is already effective, it's already in the exact spot you need it to be, just to make a YouTube video to fill out the series. So that's kind of where I am on that at the moment. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. Happy holidays to you and yours. Same to you. Hope you have a delicious meal to cap the day. I had leftover, I just said leftovers so far. I made duck, but like it's just in the fridge. Like it wasn't for today. It's just the season. It's easy to buy around this season. So, but it came out nice. The duck did come out good. Longtime Bard fan, almost always an archer in every game when it's available. And I think every expansion I mess around with the Bard class for a while if it doesn't end up as my main. I was bad at keeping up the 30-second song timings perfectly with how casual I play the game. Usually a bit bummed out when I see the new bow designs. Feels like they often are just massive, solid, literal harp-looking chunks that don't even resemble a bow. I personally stick to the Yoichi bow Zeta as it gives me a classic badass bow look, even if the arrow is frustratingly not centered. My two quick questions are, do you have a favorite bow you like, or do you usually stick with Biss? I normally just stick with Biss, but for a favorite bow, Shadow Bow from Stone Vigil. Really cool, really basic, and I think we have gotten that model again, updated, and another bow, but I don't remember. Oh, you know what? They might have just updated the Shadow Bow itself. I'd have to look. I think they did something with the Shadow Bow not long ago. But yeah, the Shadow Bow from Stone Vigil is definitely a big one. And to what class of weapons do you tend to enjoy the most, or least visually? I think the Red Mage sword. I think thin, narrow objects like the rapier or the sage neuroliths or whatever they're called. Yeah, those, because a lot of them just kind of look like specks on the screen. And you could have fooled me that they were even weapons. There are some like chunky or flashy looking ones, and those are cool, but I more often struggle with more models for those styles of weapons. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. Hope you're doing well, and know that I'm wishing you a constant, bright, and hopeful future. Thank you. I appreciate that. 3 questions that are kind of connected. 1. With 14 borrowing elements from 4, how much of the story and character development of Golbez from the original do you think they'll use to balance between fan service and original? I don't actually think we'll see much of his role. I think him being a brother of somebody, maybe Zero's brother, I think is likely. The Moon, I think, is going to be involved. Of course, we have the 4 Fiends involved. But even in what we've seen of him thus far, he doesn't have that much in terms of his personality overlap, unless somebody else is controlling him, in which case, that starts to fall more and more into Final Fantasy IV overlap. I think it'll feel a lot more like a Final Fantasy XIV version of Golbez and less of a Final Fantasy IV Golbez in Final Fantasy XIV. 2, what do you think of the following theory? Zero is the equivalent of Cecil. And yeah, I just said that. It's true. I think most people lean towards her being Zeramis, zero miss. But yeah, I've seen that one too. Honestly, there's no way to say one way or the other. It's literally just what you prefer to believe at this point. So it's not like I could shut anyone's theory down based on anything practical, or even support anyone's theory on something practical. It's just conjecture at this point. And 3, and what do you think of the general and basic theory Golbez is Asm of the 13th? No, I don't think that. I don't subscribe to much of the who is Asm and who isn't Asm thing, because we don't even really know exactly anything. We've gotten one shard where that we may know that in a certainty, and we're pretty damn certain of it. And anything else is just, again, it's one of those, you're throwing darts at a dartboard and you're going to hit something, but you don't really know what. So I can't support it based on nothing. It's just, if it's true, if it ends up being true, then it ends up being true, Hashtag Mondays. I was reading it backwards. Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, hello, greetings. Hi, hey. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Hope your week has been super. It's been okay. Like I said at the start, we've had some things going on. I've been pumped with all the Final Fantasy 16 news. It reminded me how Square Enix held the Uncovered event during the build-up for 15's release. I feel Square Enix's approach with marketing of its development has changed with this upcoming installment. You think it'll likely be they'll have a similar live audience event here in the States? No, maybe they'll be at a live audience event. If there's E3 should be right before Final Fantasy 16 comes out, and they might do a showcase there, just as a last push before launch. But other than that, no. I think that they're more concerned with making sure it's good. The reason why 15 it was so important was because versus 13 becoming 15 and taking almost 10 years to release, or pretty much 10 years, made it so they needed something more extravagant, to almost like a commitment that it was real and that it was going to happen. And 16 doesn't need that. 16, when we found out about it, we waited a little longer than we wanted to, because they just outright said, given life circumstances, given work circumstances, it's been 6 months pushed back, internally. So they never gave us a promise of a date for anything other than news. And by the time we got the information, we hadn't really waited that long compared to Final Fantasy 15. So I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I think they'll just, do a live stream here or there, and maybe just post a trailer, shadow drop a trailer or something, on a random day. It'll be nice and cool, but nothing like a live audience event that isn't at another live event already. Oh, you got to meet me at the Uncovered event. Oh man, actually, you know what? If I think really hard, I could probably remember. I didn't remember that Harley was even there. Maybe he was standing by me and I just don't even remember. But yeah, that might have been in the lobby when I was there's a few people. I remember I was trying to leave to go get food. My girlfriend was just so funny story about that. My girlfriend was there with me at the Uncovered event. And, we were sitting in, I think, the third row, whatever, influencer row they had for us. And one of the, I guess, I don't know if it was an assistant or an employee. I guess I don't know who it was. But they walked down from the stage, walked up to my girlfriend and said, come on, we're getting a picture with Tanaka. They said, hey, or not Tanaka, Tabata. Tabata's waiting for you. And I'm just like, what do you know that I don't? And she's like, I don't know who that is. And I was like, that's the director. She's like, I don't know him. And they were like, oh, sorry. They just came down from the stage, and they also said that to her in Japanese. So they just saw it and they're like, yeah, come on, we're bringing you along. It was her and I were just like, well, that was weird. Maybe we should have just said yes at that point. But no, we had people waiting for us. Hashtag Mr. Happy Christmas. Fitting. Hey, Happy. Hi. I also think the holiday season is meh, but it's a good excuse to cook something fancy. Did you make anything good? Yeah, I made a duck. And it was specifically the Starlight Dodo from the cookbook, which if you haven't made it before, really easy to make, really delicious. Just make sure you get a duck that is about the size it recommends, about 6 pounds. If you don't, it will cook faster, which isn't the worst. You know, you'll get the same problem you kind of get with turkey, where, you know, you'll have some parts that are overcooked and then the breasts will be, you know, at the 160 mark that you want them to be. But no, yeah, just make sure you get the 6 pound duck, and it should cook in exactly the amount of time that it recommends in the cookbook. Highly recommend. I believe you have only hardcore proc as a phys range or a melee. Ever thought about doing tank or healer? I did actually almost end up healing Abyssos. That was something that actually almost happened. No, the main reason why I like playing DPS is I don't find DPS requires a whole lot of my attention, and I end up being one of the individuals who the most tries to either call things out or point out like safe spots for mechanics or like movements that we need to do. And it lets me be a bit more observant about what is happening, especially the phys range role, which is very much in my line of interest. You know, I'm sure if I got good at tank or good at healer to the point where I was doing hardcore prog for those, that it might be similar. You know, I might be able to do that as well. But I already have that comfort, so I don't want to, if I'm looking to be as cutting edge as possible, then learning a new role on the cutting edge level, I'd have to kind of step back, you know, group wise, and like look for something that's a little bit, it's maybe hardcore, but not as like not as hardcore as I kind of want to go. So no, I don't have any plans for that. It would have to be kind of just it's my only choice situation, and I'm giving it a shot. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hello. What's your favorite card game? Does it count if it's a drinking game? Because I remember, I think it was called Waterfall was the game I used to play in college, where it was like everybody would just play a card after another person's card, but like every card had like a rule. Like if somebody played a 7, everyone had to reach to the sky as quickly as possible. Slowest person had to take a drink. 4 was floor, same idea. I think like an ace was a waterfall, where like you couldn't stop drinking till the person behind you clockwise, like counterclockwise to you, until they stopped drinking. That was my favorite card game. Not a real card. It's not poker. It's not blackjack. It's not any of those. You know, I don't gotta worry about what flips up on the river. It's not like war when I was in, you know, grade school. Nope. Just give me a beer and we're good to go. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. No question. Just wanted to. Oh. Well, you know, happy Christmas and fantastic New Year to you too. I'll just include this in the video. There you go. Right under that, hashtag Feliz Lunes, Mr. Happy Mondays. Wait, isn't that happy? Oh, happy Mondays. Wait, Lunes is Monday, right? You just said the same thing. You said happy Mondays, Mr. Happy Mondays. I think I'm right. Lolly ho. Hi. What is your job history throughout 14 for both rating and MSQ EX? Cross expansions. MSQ, I mean, sometimes I do just play a random job for new expansion release. Let's see. A Realm Reborn, well, 1.0 is Pugilist, and then Monk, although I had to play a few different things when I did play 1.0 just to do some of the fights. 2.0 Bard, 2.4 Ninja, 3.0 Ninja, 3.2 Monk, 3.4 Machinist, 4.0 through 4.5 all Monk, 5.0 through 5.5 Dancer, 6.0 Bard, 6.1 Bard, 6.2 Monk, and now 6.3 Dancer. I did the Endwalker MSQ on Reaper, and that's the only time that really deviated from what I was maining versus what I was doing the MSQ as. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Just a simple hello. I like hellos. Extra hello for anyone else. Okay. Happy holiday. Oh, you mean like it was actually just a hello. The second one of those got me. Happy holidays. Hope your family's doing well. I wish the same to you, and happy holidays as well. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Oh, okay. See, I saw there was no hello, but I could, through my peripheral, see that the hello is at the end this time. By the way, hello. Ramen-style noodles drained with buffalo chicken and mushrooms. What do you think? I mean, that's like a college thing. I wouldn't make that as like a meal and be like, look what I made. I'm so proud of it. That's like TikTok meal. Or like, you know, there's like an Instagram meal. Like that's something you make to post to social, and it's edible, but not necessarily something that's like I would do, especially ramen noodles with buffalo chicken. I feel like that's just like, that's a fusion. That's fusion confusion. And mushrooms as well. That's especially weird because mushrooms are very meaty. So if you're going to do something, if you're going to do a vegetable in this, I'd opt into something that's not a mushroom. Also, I don't think mushrooms kind of watery go with buffalo chicken. You know, it's going to water down the sauce. Like unless you're cooking them until they're almost just almost like dry, like really slow cook them until all the water has been out. Yeah, I would sooner do like a broccoli. Like I was going to go chicken and broccoli with ramen noodles, and then I guess you would throw buffalo sauce in there. Be a weird choice, but I mean, you could eat it. Couldn't hurt. I see this one has the hashtag. I also see it didn't quite make it all the way through, and there's some spacing issues here. Hashtag Mr. Happy. Not even a Monday, just me. Hashtag Mr. Space Happy. Hello, just wanted to see what you think of the new Pokemon games. If you're able to catch yourself a Charizard, you're ready for Cinderace. I don't care about the raids. The raids are garbage in the new Pokemon game. The Pokemon they've been choosing are terrible. The raids themselves are terrible. I have no interest in them. I also already have a shiny Cinderace. I have a shiny Charizard. So the only reason I would catch these Pokemon would be to breed them for shinies, but I have the shinies already. So they're utterly useless to me. The new Pokemon game is super, super flawed. The only reason I can play it at all is because I just like shiny hunting. And even then, it still sometimes frustrates me. Like the outbreaks or whatever are fine, but the fact that there's no audio cues, there's no visual cues like there are in Arceus, and some of the Pokemon are mega small or barely change with their shiny. You know, obviously they missed the ball in that. I think the new breeding system is terrible. I think it. Well, let me rephrase. It's good specifically if you want to just make eggs while you're doing something else. Whereas the other breeding method is far more active, though thus you constantly have to be involved with it, but you're also constantly, it's a very consistent production of the eggs themselves. So yeah, I mean, they dropped the ball in so many ways, like both technical, visual, at the very least, I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the story, I enjoy the music a lot. And I think it's the right idea. I think the exploration and the idea of it is really good, but the areas aren't very interesting, and the gym, like, yeah, the gyms also aren't very good either. I have a bunch of issues with it, but because all I do is shiny hunt, most of those things don't matter to my average playtime, so I still shiny hunt in it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hello. Hope your weekend was wonderful. It was fine. It was just a normal weekend. Neutral on this, but I was curious for your opinion. Why doesn't Square like dots? They seem to be removing them from every job. So dots come with a few functional flaws in the way Final Fantasy XIV is developed. Because there are a lot of downtime phases, especially in the more serious styles of content, anything that relies on dots to deal its damage very often doesn't get to deal its damage as well as it otherwise could. They specifically stated this recently with Paladin. Now, on top of that, the game has its dots built on a 3-second system. There's a global clock that ticks all damage over time and all heal over time effects applied to players or enemies at the same time. It's different from some of the other timers they have, but what it means is that there's no way for them to make dots faster. There's no way for them to change the way that dots interact with your skills. They all have to kind of fit into this very neat mold. And if they ever are an inconvenience, then they are always an inconvenience. So what they did in the early days is they gave a bunch of jobs dots. It was a very normal thing to do, especially just generally in MMOs, to give everybody something to maintain, you know, a damage buff, a damage over time, and then a basic rotation that they needed to follow. And what they started finding was that their game wasn't really built for that. The fights they wanted to make especially were not built for that. And you had severe disparities in power because of that. So they started removing them. They found them less necessary. They wanted to focus on things that were more iconic to the jobs or create ideas that were more iconic for the jobs. And it's just been less and less about dots. And we're just seeing it more and more and more. Paladin's not going to have theirs anymore. I'll be surprised if Bard has theirs. Like, we're going to be down to like there being 3 dots in the game. Oh, there was one other thing I actually forgot. People have asked me this question a bit, and I keep forgetting this one key thing. There is a debuff limit in the game of 72 debuffs. Now, the display doesn't go up to 72, but the total number of debuffs that can be applied goes up to 72. And on large-scale bosses, that effectively gets hit very easily, especially back in the day where everyone had 2-3 debuffs they were maintaining, and you could have, you know, 24 people hitting a boss in an alliance raid, and you just couldn't apply your dots to a boss that was designed for 24 people because there were too many debuffs on the target. So that's another thing that I always forget to bring up with why they probably don't like dots and having as many debuffs in the game and universalizing a lot of them. That's not a word, but all the same. So yeah, that's just all there really is to it, I think. Well, all there really is, I named like 5 things, but I think those are the factors that play into it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, and happy holidays to you and yours, Mr. Happy. Same to you. Hope you all had a wonderful time. Thank you. Same to you again. My question is about the upcoming game, Octopath Traveler 2. Yes! But getting around to finishing the first game, and while I love the game, there's a few things I'm hoping they change, specifically letting dialogue happen between travelers that aren't in the party. The question is there anything you're hoping they change or adjust? Really, it's just that. It's not even about who's not in the party, because we're getting dedicated path stories between multiple characters. So while you have the 8 initial chapters between all of the characters, eventually what happens is their objectives align, and then they just straight up have voice scenes between each other, which will theoretically lead to the final chapter of all 8 characters working together in the same exact story, which is honestly the biggest thing I wanted to see them change. Technically, I want to see them add a bestiary. It was really annoying that they didn't have one in the first game, especially because there were missable entries in the bestiary and for the weakness achievement. Something that tracks the amount of treasure chests there are in an individual area. Stuff that gives you information about the areas you're exploring, so you don't run around like an idiot for as long trying to see if you've done everything, or just like obsessing over these like little elements. So I would really like to see them add just basic tracking stuff like that realistically there was no excuse to not have it in the base game. Hashtag Mr. Happy Holidays. I like it. Happy holidays, Haps. Same to you. And when this video comes out, it'll be my birthday. Hey, we're not birthday buddies. You know, you're the 26th. I'm the 27th. Close, though. My question is, would you like to see a new Final Fantasy MMO, or do you think they'll keep supporting the 2 until people stop playing? Yeah, no, there's no way they do another one. Not until they actually stop making or working on one of the previous ones. Because you got to remember, they don't just have 2 MMOs. They have 2 Final Fantasy MMOs, but they also have Dragon Quest X. And so they have 3 MMOs on the market, even if one of them is Japan exclusive. And that's not a good idea. It's not a good business practice. Like, let's say they take everything they learned from 14 and then they make 17 an MMO, but they want to keep running 14 because, you know, they want to stop making 14, and they don't want to just make 17 14 2, which is kind of funny given that 14 1.0 was trying to be Final Fantasy 11 2. We all saw how that went. So they wouldn't want to be creating a new MMO to replace the old MMO or to run alongside the old MMO, because it's ultimately competing with the old MMO. And so it would have to be the point with one failing or them literally stopping all development on said MMO and thus kind of just leaving it for dust until it does die, which would realistically happen with 11 before 14 given the age. So yeah, no, I don't think you'll see another Final Fantasy MMO. You'll see online multiplayer for games, not necessarily mainstay Final Fantasy games, but like don't be surprised if you see online multiplayer, but not a full-blown MMO. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Oh boy, there's a lot of text in this one. Hey Haps, hi. Don't know if you're recording this on your regular day. I am indeed, given what day it is, but I hope you had or are having a wonderful Christmas day if you celebrate it. Yeah, just working. Trying to get another video done, even. On my questions, they're all about Euphrosyne. Between Minfina and Halone, which do you think will be the final boss? My initial guess was Halone, considering she's the goddess of war, but I've heard that it would be Minfina if they continue the trend. Just from the special attack they showed from Minfina, I would sooner believe it's Minfina from the trailer. Like, she has this like thing where she lifts you all up and like forces you to surround a moon floating in the air and then blows it up. Not to mention the dual attack she has with her pet. I think they just showed way more extravagance in her encounter. So I think Minfina, and I do think it is also because of the whole trend of going around the wheel. 2, why do you think they refuse to show Nafika's face? I don't know. I don't even want to guess. I think I'm actually going to be wrong no matter what I guess. And finally, since Nemea is in the trailer, do you think we'll be seeing more of the other gods, or is she just there because of the relation to Althik? Yeah, I think she's just there from the relation of Althik. I think we are just seeing 4 gods per tier, and then we'll have fought all 12 by the time. Technically 13 with Nalthal, but we dealt with Nalthal already. I think we'll just see them all by the end of the Alliance raid. All right, we still got quite a few left. It seems like there was a lot of just general comments in the top. Like, I had to skip through a bunch to get to questions, but now it's like all questions grouped up. So let's see how it turns out. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Been playing more PvP lately, working on getting them out, and I found that I like to play jobs I dislike in PvE. Was wondering if you felt the same. What job do you like to play in PvP? No, most of the jobs I like to play in PvE, I also like to play in PvP. But I also like to play a lot of jobs in PvE. There's only a few I really don't like. I don't like playing Dragoon or Samurai in PvE. I also don't like playing them in PvP. But no, yeah, I don't really have that. I definitely look for jobs where I have I have a connection between PvE and PvP and stay with those jobs. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you have a good new year. Wish the same to you. I have a job question for you. Sure. With 20 jobs, don't count Blue Mage. It's only 20 with Blue Mage. Stop. How many more unique jobs could they add without them feeling like glorified jobs we already have? I don't know. Why don't you ask Dark Knight and Warrior? Sorry. Honestly, there's so many things they haven't even tapped into. Not to mention they've moved away from some job identities that we had before, like, Summoner and its super dot heavy mode, even Bard technically in their sort of dot reliance. We moved away from a dot reliant job. We don't really have a job that feels like a direct pet job anymore because of them just kind of giving up on the pet system. But we also don't have much in the way of area control jobs. We don't have much in the way of speedy, of stealthy looking jobs. Like we have ninja, but like they could do more with that. With the ranged weapons, we have ultra gimmicky kind of ranged jobs, but we have one that uses a harp and songs, one that uses, tools and gadgets, and one that uses chakrams and dancing. But we don't have something that's just like a tried and true, I just shoot bow or shoot range, like a crossbow wielder or something, dual crossbows, a demon hunter style thing going on. There's a lot of job fantasies they have not touched upon. Some of them because it seems like they would be hesitant to, given Final Fantasy XIV's design philosophy, and other ones that are they just haven't done yet. We don't really know where they stand on that, but no, I think they've got a lot of room still. But I do think we're only going to see, if we see 2 jobs still in 7.0, that'll be the last expansion. I expect to get 2 jobs per expansion, personally. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. I consider that a hello. So same back to you. Hope you're doing well. Same to you. Are they going to be doing any more follow-ups to the combined role quest lines? I completed them all and did the follow-up, but don't remember if they had mentioned doing more. I mean, they're just going to do them every expansion. Like just every expansion they'll probably do another one, but not like follow-ups to the ones we've already done. No, we're done with those for the most part. The Shadowbringers one they might come back to because it's kind of important, but for the most part, yeah, we're done with those. Hashtag Mr. Happy of Mondays yet to come. I like it. Hey Haps, happy holidays. Hello, and happy holidays to you too. How's your holiday weekend? Just chilled? With the rework of Paladin being made to fit more into 2-minute meta, do you think the 2-minute meta is here to stay and will last through the next expansion? I don't think that's indicative of that, because no matter what, what they don't want to do is say, okay, this is how it is now, and we'll change it. We're going to change it later, so let's leave it exactly as is for a year and a half. That's, you know what I mean? Like, that would be not good to do that. So regardless of whether or not they're planning on keeping this design philosophy, I think Paladin changes needed to happen to make it make more sense in the way the game currently works. I don't want it to stay. I would prefer to go to something else, go back to the way it was in Shadowbringers even, but inconclusive is the answer. Oh yeah, pretty much all the questions got thrown to the bottom. Holy moly. Hello, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello, and hope you had a Merry Christmas. Same to you. Long-time watcher, first-time asker. Welcome. Glad to have you. I had to ask this since I heard the same question come up a lot recently. Feel free to skip if this is too ranty. No, it's not too bad. So you said in your Blue Protocol video that people need to have a job that matches their aesthetics and be emotionally invested in. You also said that 14 needs to continue to change and rework jobs for the sake of changing, that potency adjustments on previous... Oh, I know where this is going. Thing is, they do rely solely on cranking potency to make people play jobs they don't even like already. With this approach, it doesn't feel like it's safe to main anything except Black Mages. Well, no, I don't agree with that assessment. I'm not understanding why you said it's unfeasible for them to keep job concepts we love, like the OG Dark Knight, Dot Summoner, to name a few, too many in the game, just to balance with potency. They already do that, and I ask you to elaborate further. Even if an old spec is just garbage to your DPS, we can still use and have fun with them in normal content. Savage and ult. Yeah, the problem is that in theory you could, but in practice what ends up happening is you just get excluded. And that's the crux of everything. Sure, in a single player game this makes sense, where even if something isn't very good, if you can enjoy it and you don't really care what other people are doing, then yeah, it makes sense. If you wish it could be better, that's great. But in a multiplayer game, and more importantly, in a forced multiplayer game like an MMO with raiding and everything, you can't just simply like something. It also has to be viable, and you have to find people who are willing to let you play it. If you're playing something knowing full well that it's not good, and people won't invite you, then what are you going to do? The only thing you can really do respectfully is quit or stop playing, or go at the very least, maybe not something so drastic, but go play another job. And then what is the point of that job existing as it is? If it creates so many problems, if it's barely played. And that's another thing. When a role or a job is barely played, it indicates that not that many people are agreeing with the design philosophy choice, which then makes it not as good of a selling point. It just isn't hitting the right notes with people, because if it was, more people would be playing it. So and keep in mind, I'm not saying it's the least played, because if something could be the least played but still be played almost as much as everything else, but a lot of the identities they've kicked things away from have been ones that are barely played or only liked by a very small subset of people. So it's that balancing act of like not wanting to alienate the people who already play something, but recognizing that there's not that many of those people to begin with, and that clearly means there's a flaw in your design philosophy initially. So there's a lot of elements to this that make it so there isn't one right answer all the time, but that also means that everyone's going to perceive it differently as well. So it is a lot down to, because so one big thing, Savage and Ult are only 2% of the game. Incorrect. Savage has an average clear rate nowadays of about 15 to 25%, depending on the data center. And Ultimate, actually, some Ultimates are like up to like 14, 15%, the old ones, but all the same. So they're a fairly large subset, but the bigger thing is how much influence they have over the way people think about the rest of the game. This is trickle-down gameplay, trickle-down opinions almost. When people say that something isn't good, people who should not care at all. They're like doing extreme trials and 4-player dungeons and deep dungeons and stuff. They're like, oh, can't have this job. You know, my favorite streamer, my favorite content creator said this job's not good and I can't think for myself. It's awful. It shouldn't be how it is, but it is how it is. So it's not just 2%. It's a lot more than 2%. Let me assure you of that. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello and howdy. Hi. Hope your Christmas with the family was a good one. I'm not doing anything on Christmas Day, but yeah, it's just chilling. Appreciate your honest response to my question. The thought of forsaking things again for 11 is a hard pass. Oh yeah. So my question, do you think there's ever a likelihood of Warrior being more complex? I don't even need to read the rest of this. No. No. And if anything, the Paladin adjustment should tell you that, because, well, yes, Paladin's not Warrior. If they're making Paladin more like the way the other tanks are now, no, this is not going to happen. All right, this video is about 40-something minutes at this point. I don't know how it is with the breaks, but I'm going to lightning around the remainder questions. There aren't too many more, but then there's like a couple comments I want to grab and whatnot. So let me just get through this, because like I said, you can hear it in my voice. Like I'm pretty tired right now. This one was something that was 14 related. Do you have any special kind of glasses for color blindness? No, I have blue light glasses for long streaming sessions. I try not to wear them during some of my recordings. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's because they reflect quite efficiently, and there's nothing happening on my monitor, but it just is annoying to look at to me. Like when I think of the video and I'm like editing it, I'm like, oh, the reflection in that is so annoying. So no, that's it. They always look dirty. Yeah, no, they're blue light glasses. You could achieve the same thing with a program like F.Lux, but I had these from back when I worked in New York City. I worked in internal tech support, so I was looking at, dozens of computer screens a day, and I wasn't going to install a program into all of them. So then the 14 related one, played in 4.4, 4.5, never experienced Stormblood Bard. I just did the retrospective video. Let's see, for me it feels very, I prefer the Shadowbringer proc system over this, Oh, no, the proc system has always been toxic. It's way less toxic now than it used to be. I've gone entire songs without getting a proc before. I've gone huge stretches of time without getting procs. That's just RNG. The way it is now is far more consistent for procs than what we had before. But what you can't do is you can't get lots of procs all at once. You're still only just getting one proc at a time. So that's the exchange that you're getting. So, yeah. That's it. It's totally when nothing procs for 9 seconds or more. I mean, yeah, that's just, every 3 seconds you have an 80% roll. I mean, it's the same with dots. It was still, you had a chance every 3 seconds. You didn't get more chances. The difference being both dots could proc, and then you could end up with like 2 pitch perfect stacks at the same time or something like that. Led to a lot of overcapping, led to a lot of issues, but I would be okay with them going back to the old systems. I liked the old systems as they were, but they were swingy and frustrating as well. So it's just kind of Bard's identity is to be swingy and frustrating with procs. And then they said add new zones. What is something you like they should add to new zones and new expansions? There just here's big zones of quests. Nothing really. I mean, unless you want to add duels from Bozja, I don't really have any asks for the open world. It's not, Final Fantasy XIV is not strongest in its open world. Like, the entire gameplay system is strongest in something that's very structured. So I prefer to focus on the structured content and not just force me out into the overworld for, you know, no reason, I suppose. When do you think patch 6.4 and 6.5 will be out? I actually just checked this. I think it was like May 23rd or May 30th for 6.4. And then it was, I think, October, I said, for that. I mean, all you have to do is you just add 19 weeks to when a patch comes out. Occasionally add 20 weeks. I would add 20 weeks for 6.5 instead of 19 weeks because of the extra week they're going to have during the summer. Because they have an extra week's vacation now in the summer and in the winter. So that would be I think it was October for 6.5. Like middle of October. And the last question, I had a hashtag. Mentioned a panel from the OO designer about how the encounter was designed. Curious how it was designed. Yeah, it was, if you can find the VOD for the Shadowbringers North American Fan Fest, that would be the one where he was. Because the encounter came out in 4.3, and he did the panel at FanFest. So it would have been North American Fan Fest. What year is that? 2013, 2015? It would have to be 2017, I guess. Yeah, because Shadowbringers would have come out in 2019. So it would have been 2018, I think, for that one. Is that right? Realm Reborn 2013, Heavensward 2015, Stormblood 20. Yeah, it would have been 2018. Yeah, it would have been FanFest, North American FanFest 2018. If you can find the schedule or the VOD for that, that's where you'll find that. And then for the rest of the questions, just a few other things that were here. Some more things about the 11 private server. I had one comment here that was trying to speculate all of the reasons why I probably wouldn't do it. So I'll just go ahead and just take that one right here. Where is it? Won't play 11 private servers because he's buddy-buddy with Square Reps. Well, it's not, I'm not buddy-buddy with Square Reps. I have a professional relationship with a company. And yeah, I honestly don't think they would do anything because you got to remember, they sponsor Games Done Quick, and Games Done Quick mods old games, and that's very shaky territory. So to be in support of Games Done Quick and to be a sponsor for it regularly, and to also, you know, for something that has that sort of that gray line that people are always kind of worried about, I think they'd be perfectly okay with it. But what I'm not going to do is put anyone in a position in the company where they have to like let me do it or do anything. The point is, I have a professional relationship with the company, and I'm not gonna jeopardize that. So that is definitely part of the reason. But it's not even about getting in trouble. It's just you don't jeopardize professional relationships to do something. But at the crux of it, I don't miss classic Final Fantasy XI. That's all it really comes down to. It's not rose-tinted glasses or this grand, awesome thing. And I don't think it is. And I don't see what the problem with that is. So I don't know what anyone's problem is with me just not missing old 11, not looking back at it and going, that was the greatest thing ever. I would love to do that again. I just don't feel that way about it. It was a part of my life. I've moved on from it. And while I can occasionally visit retail, just to like either catch up with the story or like do something for like a stream for like an anniversary or whatever, I don't have any desire to go back to old 11. I've got way better things to do with my time now. That's it. So it's just, I just don't agree with people about the design decisions for that stuff. And I could go into it, but you know, they don't want to hear it. So, you know, if they ask me about it, I'll answer, but otherwise I don't want to get into it. We had a couple other things. Positional enjoyer. Excuse me. Yes, I am a positional enjoyer. Someone following up on the tank anxiety thing, just starting with earlier dungeons. That's definitely a thing. Yeah, the re-recording of a Realm Reborn voice. Again, you say that's fine, but there is a discussion to be had about if it is fine with the majority of people, or if it's even a good idea, I suppose. turning off blood and gore for 16. We had that discussion last week as well. The DPS rotation question for healers. Apparently, one of the old contest rewards, the Scarf of Wondrous Wit, used to be reward exclusive for like official events like art contests and stuff. And they put it in the Moogle Tombstones. I didn't even know that that was initially from that. So yeah, I guess in that regard, the Cloud Hair could technically become widely available in the game. And I think that covers most everything here, minus the occasional comment on the questions I answered from last week. But with that, this video went on a little bit longer than I intended it to, but it is what it is. You know, I just wanted to get through everything I could, and it's the holidays, so why not? But I am going to go get this rendered, ready, and then I have some editing to do on another video that I want to get out to you guys, but I also have raid bright and early, 4 a.m. Pacific for some ultimate prep. No idea what we're doing. And then I've got reclears and ultimate prep on my birthday. And then, yeah, I think I don't have anything till January 4th at that point. Or at least that's what it's looking like. So with that, thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and ask your questions in the comment section of the video below. Until then, I hope you all have a good holiday, the rest of your holiday at least, and I'll see you in 2023. Until then, take care.